Good evening. This is Mary Grace McGraw, Principal Shirley Heim. Welcome to our virtual town hall meeting. Tonight, Mr. Jones, Mr. Carley, and I will attempt to answer your questions that were submitted to us, as well as provide you with information about what second semester will look like for your child. We took the information from the survey you recently completed, and we have students that are labeled as hybrid and those that are virtual. Both of those students, whether you're hybrid or virtual, the instruction will look a little bit different than it did first semester. So for our hybrid students, we have divided the students into A and B groups, and we've balanced our classrooms. We have no more than 15 in almost all of our classrooms, with very few exceptions. And that is the maximum that we're going to have in each class. So if you chose hybrid and at some point in the first couple of weeks you've changed your mind and want to move your child to a virtual setting, that's not going to be a very complicated procedure. You do need to notify the school, but actually the movement will pretty much be seamless. If, however, you chose virtual and want to move to the hybrid, it is going to be a little bit more complicated. I'm not saying it can't be done, but we will have to look at those balanced numbers in each classroom. Hopefully, it could easily happen, but there could be a possibility that a class would have to change for your child, or a teacher would have to change for your child based on the numbers. So let's talk about what it's going to look like for students entering the building. So we currently do have students in our building, and they have been following all of these protocols and health mitigations that we have in place. So we'll talk about bus riders. So students who are riding the bus to school will be socially distanced on the bus so that there's only one person in each seat. If there are siblings, siblings will be allowed to sit together. When the buses arrive, our new schedule being changed from 11 to 4 means that we're the last group of schools to have buses come to us. So as the buses arrive, we're going to dismiss one bus at a time. That way the students have time to get off the bus and get into the building, and not be mingling with students from other buses as they're arriving. So when they get off the bus, there are little X's on the sidewalk for the bus ramp. Students maintain 6-foot distancing following those X's to remind them to be 6 feet apart. They'll enter either the 8th grade doorway or the 6th and 7th grade doorway. And once they are just inside the doorway, they will have their temperature taken by a staff member, and they will answer a few health questions that are part of our health survey, such as, are you feeling fine today? Is there anyone in your family that may be sick? And once they've been screened, they will be allowed to enter the building. If for some reason a temperature is higher than we would like it to be, or if they answer yes, they have sick family members, our school nurse will be immediately notified, and we will work with those individual students and families. So the bus riders come into the building, they report immediately to their homeroom, which is their first block class. There will be staff members throughout the entire building, since the majority of the students have not really been in the building yet, may not know where to go. We will have staff members everywhere to help your child find their homeroom. Once they're in homeroom, they will have assigned seats. They'll have assigned seats in every class. They'll report to their assigned seat, they'll unload their book bag, and they'll take a seat. Students will not be allowed to walk around the classroom and socialize with other students getting out of their seat. They can, however, socialize while they are seated. All students are required to wear a mask, so they will have their mask on the entire time. All students are required to walk on the right side of the hallway as they go into their class, because there are marks on the right side of the hallway, little arrows that keep the students 6 feet apart. For students who are entering the building from car riders, we're going to have car riders line up in the front of the building. There'll be staff members out there to help make sure that there are two lines formed. Car riders will not be allowed into the building until 10:30. They'll also have markings in front of the building and on the sidewalks. We're going to use paw prints that are 6 feet apart that they can follow to maintain social distance from one another. They will enter the doorway where car riders have always entered the door, and there will be a staff member on duty there who will also take temperature and ask those health questions. Once they are through with that, they'll report to their homeroom just like the bus riders. And once they're in homeroom, they stay there. Students will not be going to breakfast in the morning or purchasing breakfast. No student has to purchase a meal this year, so they will not be picking up or purchasing breakfast in the morning. Instead, they'll report to their homeroom, and at the end of the day, breakfast and lunches will be delivered for subsequent days that they may not be in the building, and students may take them home. So meals will be provided for every student who enters the building. If they choose not to have meals, we'll make note of that to let our cafeteria staff know that they don't need to be delivering meals to the classrooms or at the end of the day for students to take home. Otherwise, every student will have the opportunity to take meals home. So kids won't be using their lockers this year, so they will be carrying all their belongings with them. Those belongings should include their Chromebook every day. We will have extra chargers available and some extra Chromebooks available for students who forget, but their Chromebook should be charged at night at home and be part of the equipment that they have to bring with them every single day. In addition to that, students will need to bring a bottled water. I really don't care what kind of water bottle it is. I suggest to be a water bottle that has more than 12 ounces or 16 ounces. In fact, it wouldn't hurt to have two water bottles, a large one and a smaller one, that are filled with water at home. At this time, we have one water bottle filler station in the building. We've ordered more, but they're on back order for a few months. So as far as getting water out of water fountains, the water fountains are all shut down with the exception of the one water bottle fill station that is currently outside of our library. Teachers will have access to some water bottles in their classroom for emergency use, but we hope that students will bring water with them and have them, but there is extra here if they need it in emergencies. So what happens when they go to their next class? So as class is ending, whether it's first block, second block, etc., the teacher will go around and spray every desk and chair as they dismiss the student to line up to leave the room. The desks and chairs will all be sprayed down. The students will take their belongings, again, walking on the right side of the hallway. They'll report to their next class. When they enter the next class, they will get some paper towels. They'll wipe down their assigned desk and chair and take a seat. That's what the procedure will be for every single classroom. The end of the day, custodians will clean all the classrooms again. And on Wednesday nights and Friday nights, our custodial staff does the electrostatic cleaning in all of the rooms. So when they're in the classrooms, whether it's once they've arrived to homeroom or any other class, and a child needs to use the restroom, the child needs to report to their class first and wipe their desks down. If it's a subsequent class after homeroom, wipe their desk down, take a seat, ask permission, and follow the procedure for dismissal to the restroom. There will be adults stationed throughout the building during each class so that any student in a hallway, there's always an adult that can see them in their movements. When they get to the restroom, there will be an adult on duty, and the adult will let students in only two at a time. The restrooms will be closed during class changes. We'll put a cone in front of them to let the students know. And the reason for this is that we have to transition the adults that are on duty. And in order to do that, we have to give them a couple of minutes to get to those duty stations. So the kids will always report first to their classroom, get the permission, leave the classroom to use the restroom, and then there should be an adult that will remove the cones and allow students in 2 at a time. So what does lunch look like? Those children will be eating lunch during second block. There'll be 3 lunch shifts during second block. The first lunch shift will be for 6th graders who are in their core classes. The second lunch shift will be for 7th graders who are in their core classes during second block. And then the third lunch shift will be for 8th graders. And 8th graders are in electives at that time. We may have some 6th and 7th graders in a second block elective. So they'll eat at the same time that their class eats, which would be with 8th grade. The lunches are delivered to the classroom. They're then dispersed among the students. There's really no lunch choice. It's everyone gets the same lunch. If there are specific nutritional needs, then you need to communicate that with us and our cafeteria staff. Children do not have to eat the lunch, so if they make a decision that they would rather bring their lunch to school every day, that's perfectly fine. We will notify the cafeteria staff that they don't need to bring, they can bring lesser number of lunches to the classroom. So during lunch is really the only time during the school day that students can take their masks off. So while they're eating, they can take their mask off. And as soon as they're finished eating, they need to put their mask back on. And this is important for the safety of everybody in the room. This is also one of the times where kids can socialize with one another. Again, they have to remain in their assigned seat, which will be 6 foot distanced from another seat in the classroom. And but they may talk to each other while they're in the room. Our front office protocols are going to look a little different also. At this time, we are not allowing, people into the building that aren't part of the school system staff. If you need to pick up your child early, or you need an early dismissal for your child, you need to please send the information via email to our front office. We are really going to be avoiding taking notes. However, if you do send a note in, your child can come to the front office and a staff member will meet them and look at the note. We won't be taking any notes from anyone at this time. If you have that early dismissal or your child arrives late, all of that will take place at the front door. One of our office staff members will go out to the front door, signing your child either in or out of the building. Signing children out of the building earlier is going to take a little bit more time because of how we have to do it. But you still definitely, can get your child when you need them. At this point, we are limiting access to the front office. So if your child needs to make a phone call home and they don't have a cell phone and have permission to use a cell phone by their teacher, then they will, obviously have to go to the front office. When they go to the front office, they'll be met by an office staff person who will find out who they need to call and make the phone call for them. So we will not have students using that public phone in the front of our office. So what does dismissal look like? All right, at the end of the day, students will be dismissed from their 4th block class. Now at 4th block, the majority of our 6th graders are in their elective class. Remember, there's no need to go and pick an instrument up. There's no need to go get your books from your classroom because you're carrying all of your items with you throughout the day. So when students are dismissed, buses will be called over the loudspeaker. And as they're called, the students will be monitored as they go out on the bus ramp to maintain their 6-foot distancing as they're getting on the bus. For car riders, when we dismiss car riders, they will have to go outside of the building. And again, they will be waiting on one of those little paw prints, 6-foot distanced, until their ride arrives to pick them up. So it's going to be really important that car riders get picked up within the first 5 minutes or so of dismissal. Our school schedule, remember, is 11 to 4, so dismissal occurs at 4 o'clock. I'm sending, or I've already sent, a copy of what the schedule looks like to you via your email address in Synergy and Parent View, so that you can kind of take a look at how that's spaced out. So I mentioned that the virtual students and the in-person students will be taught at the same time by the teacher. This is called concurrent teaching. Our county has purchased some technology for our teachers. So when they're teaching from the classroom, there is a device called an OWL, which has a camera that has the ability to move 360 degrees and follow a teacher in the room. Students who are virtual, or students who are virtual because they're a B group and A group is currently in the building, at any time a student is working virtually, they will be seeing what's going on every day in the classroom with the students who are coming in face to face. Submission of work is still going to be online. We are not collecting papers from students. If we give a student a paper of any kind for any reason, that's theirs to keep. Right now, as an example, if we collect books from students, there is a 7-day waiting period before we can process those books. So the same procedures followed for anything that is transpires between a teacher and a student as far as paperwork is concerned, or between any staff member and a student as far as paperwork is concerned. So we're trying to keep everything, submission of schoolwork, virtual at this time. Although students are welcome to have paper and pencil to use in the classroom, it's just when they actually collect any kind of assignments, it will still continue to be virtual. I do know that Google Meets will still be used in the classroom. If the students are face-to-face in the classroom, it might not be required that they be on a Meet because they're physically present to hear the discussion. However, if there are breakout sessions or we want to group students so that they're working with the students who are virtual, then they would have to use a Google Meet at that time. So I think I covered everything that I could think of that had to do with our procedures and protocols. I do encourage you to please send us an email if you have a question we did not cover. I cannot at this time answer specific questions of individuals as to when buses are going to arrive and things like that. But certainly any concern that you have that I can't answer, I will. And at this point, you may send me or Mr. Carley or Mr. Jones questions that we'll continue to answer before our second semester starts. So I'm going to turn this presentation over to Mr. Jones, who's going to talk a little bit about some of our other questions that we had in our document shared with you for this meeting. So you all have a great evening, and I'll let Mr. Jones take over. Bye.
Good evening, Timberwolf families. I'm Jeff Jones, the assistant principal here, and it has been too long. The school is empty. The staff and I are getting tired of looking at each other, and we're ready to have some students back in the building walking our hallways. I'm going to take this opportunity tonight to talk to you about our transition from virtual learning to hybrid learning, answer a couple questions here, and give you some information. One of the questions we received is, when will children with IEPs conduct in-person instruction? So in terms of transitioning from our virtual model, which we're currently in, to the hybrid model, That educational setting and the way our building is going to look and our A and B groups, that applies to all students, whether they have a disability or not. So in terms of the overall instructional model that we're moving to, it is the same for students with IEPs or without IEPs. As far as the services and accommodations for students who have individualized education plans, if you are a parent watching this and your child has an IEP, please refer to Plan B that your case manager and the team would have went over with you early in the school year. Currently, we are in Plan C, which is a virtual model. As we move to Plan B for those students who come to us hybrid, those are the supports and the accommodations that we have talked about earlier. If you have any questions or need some clarification about Plan B in the IEP, please reach out to the case manager or me. We'll be happy to talk through it. And of course, if you want to propose any changes in the IEP as we transition to hybrid, again, just please reach out to case manager or me and we'll set something up. But as far as the look of the week, regardless whether a child has a disability or not, Mondays will continue to be an asynchronous day for all students. And then whether a child is an A or B group, they'll be in the school 2 days per week. Again, that is to make having everyone have access to face-to-face instruction while keeping our numbers as low as possible to keep safety protocols into place. So again, for children with IEPs as without, 3 days of the week, or 1 day will be async, that is Monday, 2 days virtual in either an A or B group, and 2 days in the building in an A or B group. We will also continue to use the model of using the Chromebooks and virtual instruction, even in the building, as we try to keep utilizing paper to a minimum, and just to maintain health and safety protocols, not giving out paper and receiving it back as we have in the past. So we will still rely heavily on the Chromebooks, and that's why if you look at Plan B within the IEP, it still is through kind of a virtual electronic model, if you will. So again, parents with IEPs, we have the Plan B supports in place already. We'll talk through it if you want to reach out for clarification on anything. Speaking of supports, in general, just for all of our 1,000 students here, we know that a lot of our students are having difficulties in the virtual setting. As some of you know, I myself am a parent, including of a 6th grader, and I can take my administrator hat off and put my parent hat on and tell that I have the same stress and anxiety as you do as well about lost learning, and about just everything that's going on right now and going to the hybrid model. So again, I have a lot of the same worries that you do. And I will tell you, our teachers are working incredibly hard. And one of the things that they're telling me is the students who are taking advantage of opportunities for intervention and one-to-one time are being successful in this model. We do have many students doing wonderful in the virtual setting, and they're taking advantage of those opportunities. So I'm going to encourage you to please have your child attend these interventions or remediations that teachers are offering, one-to-one time, extremely small group time on Mondays and before school that teachers are offering. Again, the teachers are putting a lot of effort into using data from assessment to see what areas students in general may be having difficulties with, and specific students who did not perform well, reaching out to them to offer a time to, hey, come, hear the information again, ask any questions you need in a very small or individual setting, and then retake the assessment to hopefully show mastery that you learned it. And again, it's the students who are doing this who are performing very well this year in this setting. So again, encourage your students, and if you need more information about that, about a specific class, or when teachers are offering these interventions, again, reach out to the teacher. And I can't say enough, as someone, again, myself being a parent and in this role, it is teamwork. It is a team effort to have the teachers and the staff working with parents to help children be successful. We all want to be on the same page here. So again, it is really, we need you to help us from the aspect of home while we work hard in school to offer these interventions for kids. So again, anything we can do to help, please reach out to me, the other administrators, the counselors, and the teachers to get whatever help you need. As we move into second semester, we will be offering lost learning intervention in our core classes. where teachers specifically will be inviting students into some remediation times, and we hope that those students come to those intervention times, and work specifically on SOL content, as we will still have SOL scheduled in the spring, and we want to help those students be successful. So also, as we move into hybrid, whether a child remains in the virtual setting or hybrid in the classroom, but through the Chromebook, we are going to encourage students to have their cameras on. I know in some cases with bandwidth issues and streaming issues, at times students have had their cameras off throughout the first semester. We're going to encourage that, and if possible, have your child have their camera on. We think the level of engagement will increase quite a bit if that is happening. And if just like the students, a lot of us have also been in Zoom and Google Meet meetings, and it's different when you can see someone's face and their facial expressions and have that dialogue with them while being able to see the person versus just looking at an icon. So it's something we're going to encourage moving on, so please work with your child on that as well. Again, please reach out for anything you need. A lot of parents have contacted me for this and that, and we're just trying to problem solve and work through this difficult situation, challenging times, and just help all kids be successful. So again, don't be afraid to email me, pick up the phone, give me a call, and we'll talk about whatever concerns you may have.
Hello, Timberwolf families. Mr. Jones wanted me to point out that the Timberwolf Times, which is our Shirley Heim Middle School newsletter, comes out every Friday via email, and you can also access it by going to our website, either clicking on 2021 school year and then SHMS newsletter, or if you scroll down, I have a direct link underneath the parents part to the newsletter, and you can look at the newsletter from there. The newsletter archive is the next page, and it contains all the ones that we've sent out so far if you wanted to go back and look through them. Please look at them every week. It contains vital information that we would like families to know about, and a message from our principal every week. So please take a moment to look at that every week so you have the most updated information. We try to consolidate information so that you weren't getting a million emails, just one big email from our school every week. Have a wonderful night.
Next up is the other assistant principal, Gina DeCarly, and she's going to answer some questions for you as well. Take care.
Hi everybody out there in Timberwolf territory. I'm Mrs. DeCarly. I'm in charge of our 7th and 8th grade students. I'm also the person in charge of handling our testing. So I'm going to address the questions we received that dealt with testing. Our first round of SOL testing starts this month, January 28th and 29th. These tests are only for students that are 7th graders currently enrolled in civics or 8th graders currently enrolled in Science 8. If you did not receive a notification about SOL testing, that probably means your child's not in one of those classes. They're the only ones that are taking the test. We are required to give the SOL, but parents did have an option whether or not they were sending their children in to take the test. You should have received a survey and answered that question. It also asked you if you were sending your child in, do they need bus transportation and a lunch provided? So we should have all that information compiled, and then the buses will be running that day to bring the students in that the parents have chosen for them to test. They also should bring their Chromebooks with them if they are school-issued Chromebooks. They'll be able to take their SOL from that Chromebook, but not if they're their own Chromebook or they're using any other device. Only send them in with their Chromebook if it is a school-issued Chromebook. We also have been giving the MAP test and the STAR test to our students. One is to assess their reading and another to assess their math. When students complete their math one, the score actually shows up on their screen. They probably all didn't notice at the time, but it does. So you are able to contact your child's English teacher or their math teacher if you're interested in those scores, or your child can ask as well, and they'll meet with them one-on-one to discuss the score. Letters will be going home by the end of February to let you know what the scores were, and also talk about any students that may need some remediation, some intervention to get caught up and to be at the place that you want them to be. And don't worry, we're going to get them all where they need to be. Also, when I get done today, which I'm almost done now, Miss Anna Marie Bellino, who is in charge of our fine arts program in the county, will be talking about how classes like orchestra, band, and chorus will be run in our new with our new mitigation strategies that will be happening. We are so glad that you all have been here with us through our virtual learning and finding ways to make this all possible. The patience and the grace you've shown, we will never forget, and we appreciate more than, again, you will ever know. Please don't hesitate to contact me at decarlyjd@staffordschools.net if you have any questions, concerns, or any suggestions. I'm happy to take those. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna Marie Bellino, and I oversee the Fine and Performing Arts programs for Stafford County Public Schools. I am pleased to share information regarding the safety protocols and mitigation strategies that our Fine and Performing Arts classrooms will have in place when our secondary hybrid students return in February. We know how much our students have missed the robust arts education during this pandemic. We have also missed creating masterpieces, performing art, and making music together. As our art students return to school, several protocols and procedures will be in place to mitigate the spread of the virus so we may perform and learn as safely as possible. A list of the guidance documents used in creating our protocols and procedures will be available on the SEPS website. All Fine and Performing Arts students will maintain a physical distance of at least 6 feet and will wear masks, even when they are playing a wind instrument. Band and chorus students will actually be placed 10 feet apart. When possible, theater students may also be placed more than 6 feet apart, perhaps 8 to 10 feet. All students in our performing arts classrooms will face the same direction as much as possible. Instrumental music students will not be sharing instruments. Students with larger instruments will be provided an at-home instrument as well as one at school. Students in our classes will not be sharing items such as music, scripts, pencils, valve oil, wigs, props, and art supplies. Art students will bring their SEPS provided supply kits to school to use. If students need to use an art supply that is not provided in their kits, these items will be disinfected at the end of each class use and will be stored in containers for at least 24 to 48 hours prior to the next usage. Shared surfaces such as chairs, tables, and music stands will be sprayed and wiped down after every class period. Further details will be forthcoming from your student's school. SEPS will provide a triple-layer bell cover with a MERV 13 filter for our wind instruments. Wind students should have a separate mask for band class that has a slit in the middle of the mouthpiece. Brass players will use absorbent pads to empty their water keys that will be disposed of after each class period. Band and chorus rehearsals will be limited to 30 minutes. Then the room will be cleared for at least one HVAC air exchange before the next rehearsal. Therefore, your hybrid chorus or band student may shift to a different location during the class period. But don't worry, the teacher will still be in the Google Meet during this transition, so there will not be a disruption to the students accessing virtually. Routines and procedures will continue to be very important. When students enter the classroom, specific protocols to include hand washing or hand sanitizer will be followed. Teachers and schools will create pathways for students to flow through the space while maintaining physical distancing. We will limit and monitor the number of students to enter instrument storage areas, and some schools may even opt for at-school instruments to be housed within the band room. Just as we modified our virtual instruction, we will continue to adapt during the concurrent teaching model. Music students in the classroom will perform in real time with their teacher and will be heard through the computer speakers by the virtual students. The students at home will be able to play along with those in the classroom. However, because of the internet lag time at home, the students may be hearing at different times than their virtual peers, which is why students will have to stay on mute if they are at home. When working on scenes in drama classrooms, teachers will facilitate this work with both hybrid and virtual students. When virtual students are asked to perform a passage, they can unmute and will be able to be heard by both their virtual and at-school peers via the technology set up in the classroom. Our teachers will continue to engage the whole class in discussion, individual performance, giving and receiving feedback, and more. The guidance documents used to develop these mitigation protocols are available on the SEPS website. Any specific questions regarding your school's plan can be addressed by your student's teacher. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing our hybrid students in our schools soon.